my goodness.
Same time.
We always do that. It's okay. It's all good.
Yeah.
That was the clearest the sound has ever come out, and I'm so excited about it.
I said it right on top of the microphone. It was right on top.
It was beautiful. It was
you.
beautiful. I could hear every note, and it like actually makes sense now. So I'm so excited for this. We're gonna have a great episode today. Yeah. So today we have a guest, and I'm so excited about this. Oh my goodness. Wait.
I'm Miranda, Shivani.
They should know by now. Goodness. Okay, it's fine. It's fine. Okay,
I'm
Shivani.
Every time because that is our pattern. I always yell.
I know.
Guess. Yes, like you said.
Is this
we have a guest. Yes, okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Anna. I live with Miranda. I'm an English major, currently minoring in communication and media studies. So have a lot to say about what we're going to talk about. Thrilled to be here. This is going to be fun.
Hey.
Yay. Yeah, so today we were going to be talking about internalized sexism and stereotypes. And I'm very excited to hear like what we have to say about this because I know I've had a lot of experiences and a lot of things that I can refer to, and just like thinking back on it now, it's just insane to me like how much I have like internalized some of this stuff and like haven't really like noticed it until like now or like in the recent past. So do you guys have any like beginning like, I don't know, starting points, or you guys want to talk about like sexism in general or stereotypes or stories? Do you guys have any?
How about the color pink? Let's
start off.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Let's do it.
Yeah.
I myself refused to like the color pink until I was a sophomore in high school because I thought it was too girly.
I totally understand that. I did an Instagram post on this actually too. I also was really scared and like embarrassed to like pink because it was just like associated with like feminine things that like weren't for some reason like pink was associated with being, I guess, I don't know, in my head it was like really girly, kind of dumb, and kind of like all over the place, and not exactly like, you can't take someone who likes pink seriously. At least that's how I processed it in my head. So instead I decided to like the color orange. I would tell people I liked the color orange when in reality I really just like pink. But it's just like so sad because like society makes you feel bad for liking a color that, you know, there's social constructs, and it's so annoying to me. But yeah, go ahead. I just kept talking. Go ahead.
No, you're good. I just can completely relate to what both of you said. And I definitely had a period, especially in middle school, when kind of everyone was going through it, which is just middle school is like a notoriously bad time for like, I don't know, just figuring yourself out, all that stuff. But yeah, I definitely remember that period distinctly as a time where I was just vehemently anti-pink. And it was so embarrassing. I mean, like, for a long time, I didn't really know why. I just knew that it was a bad color that like I shouldn't like. And then what you said, Shivani, about just it being associated with a lack of intelligence or just like pink could be not being taken seriously just shows how like heavily gendered colors are, I think, and it's very stupid. But yeah, I remember just being like, I can't like pink, people won't take me seriously, so I like blue. And so not only was I being like no pink, anti-girly, all of that, I was trying to fit more into like, I guess, masculine.
The blue, because boys like blue.
Yeah. And with that, I would be like, also, I remember animals, like my favorite animals, I would say were like snakes or like something like that. Snakes are dope. They are dope. I agree. I still love snakes, but like just lying about what my favorites were, and my favorites would always be that like tomboyish, more masculine stuff. And it was always looked upon as like not great to be into more girly things. And I think that really sucks because now I adore pink and it's legit one of my faves and it's a fantastic color. So just the turnaround there, and
it's really interesting because like girls did that, like where they tried to be masculine. It's not like guys tried to be feminine. So it was literally like seen as inferior to be a woman.
Yeah, and if guys like pink, they get called like gay and stuff.
Yeah.
For some reason. Yeah. Because for some reason that's indicative of sexuality, I guess. It's just a whole messed up web where in the end, associating with feminine things is not a good thing. So I think that's really messed up in a lot of ways.
It totally is. I totally agree with that. Oh my goodness. Like I just had so many thoughts, but now they're like all kind of like out of my head. But like no. I like really I enjoyed that. That was amazing. But yeah, no, for some reason it was just like I had that phase too where like I wanted to be like more masculine, so I tried to be like I don't know, a tomboy, and I would like play.
Yeah.
I went to like an international school when I was in elementary school, and they had one soccer team. They didn't have like a girls or a boys soccer team. They had like just like mixed. So I was the only girl on the soccer team, and there was a lot of sexism like just going on within there.
Oh yeah.
They would like they just like kind of, I didn't know how to play soccer, and no one would tell me how. So I ended up hitting the ball into the wrong goal, and no one told me why or how to play. They're just like, oh, she'll figure it out. But like, you know, the fact that I was a girl, they just wouldn't pass the ball to me. And also like in PEs, like, you know, like in high school, the boys, oh my Lord. Do you have
so bad?
Yeah. Exactly.
Like sexism in like elementary school because they're like boys on this side, girls on this side,
and also like heteronormativity. If you're a guy and you kick the ball to a girl or like throw the ball to a girl, it means you have a crush on her.
Oh,
something that like happened a lot in my grade of middle school, and it was so weird because like just boys and girls would not associate with each other. So
yeah. Oh, that's so true. I still feel like that goes on today. It's just like if you associate, like I still feel like that sort of thing where like you can't be friends with a boy or a girl, like, you know, boys and girls can't be friends. It still goes on, and it's still like hard to like. I feel like I have to like, what's the word? Not validate. Do I have? Is it validate? I don't know. I have to like. Do you know the word I'm talking about?
I mean,
like I have to.
And then
I have to, okay, I'm just going to use the word validate and tell me if I'm using it right. Okay. I have to like validate myself whenever someone asks me like if I'm just like friends with a dude or if I'm like into that.
Validate, explain yourself. Yeah, that makes sense.
Goodness. I'm sorry. I'm so bad with words.
Justify also works.
Justify. That's it.
There you
go.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
It's just words. So there you go.
Yeah, it's really sad.
But I feel that, like in elementary school, I mean, it still happens now, but I'm not friends with as many guys. But in like elementary school, I like held hands with a guy who was my friend, and everyone was like, "Oh, she likes him."
Yeah,
exactly.
And yeah, even in high school, like people were like, "You're talking to this guy, therefore you should date." And I was like, "I do not want to date him. Thank you. Bye."
For sure. Yeah. Do you guys have any? Oh, sorry. Go. You're gonna say something?
No, I was just agreeing.
Oh, okay. Zoom. I just can't hear anything. But have you noticed any other ways in your life, like presently, that you've seen internalized sexism kind of like happen or like go through your life in ways now?
Do you have anything? I can talk on something if you don't.
Oh, you can go ahead if you got something.
We might have already talked about this on the podcast episode, but up until last December, I hated crying. I had, for the first time I cried in front of my friends was in like junior year of high school, and the first time I like actually was willingly cried in front of my friends was like you, Shivani, freshman year of college. Yeah. Just because for like all my life I thought it was like weak to cry, and I wasn't a strong, independent woman if I cried. Yeah, so I think that's internalized sexism because I literally thought, yeah.
So, that's a good point.
Yeah. Oh, I was just like, there's this association with women and being like overly emotional. Yeah. So I think that's kind of what I've gotten. So like, I've never, when I've cried, it's been less like frustration at the fact that I'm crying and more like, oh, this is normal, I guess, or just like, oh, I'm doing what everyone expects, like the embarrassment that kind of comes from like, oh, I'm just like being an emotional woman right now. So kind of just that, like, I guess fitting into the stereotype was more frustrating. Now I'm cool with it, and I'm just like, if I'm feeling emotions, I'm feeling emotions, and that's fine. Right. But yeah, I definitely get what you're saying too, though. I feel like when it comes to like hating to cry because it's like showing emotion, I feel like that gets pushed on guys a lot more. At least like I've been around in my life. So would definitely get not necessarily ridiculed because that's too harsh, but like just discouraged from doing so, and like handle their emotions privately or whatever. So yeah, that's just been my experience though.
Yeah, no, I was about to say the same thing. As like what you were saying, Anna, just like about like the fact that like we're in dominantly like men ruled world. I said that really badly, but I said that really poorly. But like yeah, just like the fact that like because a majority of men are in power, it's just like the feelings that men feel are more dominant. So I guess like in that sense because they see crying as weakness, we tend to think that too because there isn't enough feminine power
That's a
energy.
good point. I didn't even like think of it that way.
No, yeah, that's so true. I didn't think about it that way either.
Yeah, but it's just like I like totally agree with like I kind of relate to Miranda in the fact that like I would feel weak when I cried, but now it's just like I'm so used to like I guess I think I've gotten so used to like not crying that like it's almost I've repressed like so many emotions and I don't exactly know how to like release the emotions I feel. So like I rarely cry. I like it takes a lot for me to cry. Like it feels wrong whenever I feel like I'm supposed to cry. Like something in me just like clicks and then I'm like, nope, you can't cry, even though I might want to. It's just like I don't know how to.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't let myself cry still even pretty frequently because I don't want to like go down that rabbit hole. So I only like cry if I'm trying to. I like convince myself I'm like, I'm done crying. Cry later.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And like the act of crying does kind of suck in that when you're done crying, you're dehydrated.
True.
And so like it's just not a fun experience. But like I feel I am super emotional, so I cry all the time about lots of things. And hello. And I definitely think it's healthy. And even though afterwards, depending on how much you're crying, super dehydrated, all that good stuff.
Yes.
But also, like, there is this sense, at least for me, of just like relief that I just let those emotions come out.
Yeah.
I'm not super great at holding things back or like repressing emotions. I guess that was part of the household I grew up in, at least as a girl, where I specifically wasn't really ever taught to like hold things back and just was taught that it was okay, which is good.
That's awesome.
But there have been times that's kind of on the flip side of that where I have been called like either too emotional or just like that kind of thing. So you can't win either way in some senses.
It's true.
Double standard.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very, very true. Yeah.
I know.
No. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. I was just gonna talk about like when like the one time besides when I like cried to you, whereas like I just let myself cry, but like one time I like there was two incidents. There's been two instances where I forced myself to cry where I've been like, I am in a shit mood. I want to just cry to relieve myself. Yeah. So I get that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the last time I cried was like when my dad and my brother dropped me off for college and left, and I cried, and so that was like really emotional because like I saw my dad crying and he never cries, so I was like, oh shit, like he's crying, like oh my goodness, there's like emotions, and like I like didn't know what to do, so I let myself cry for a little bit, and I was like, it was a good cry, but also like it hurt because I was like shaking and I was like trying to hold it back, but then I was like, I can't hold it back. So then I was just like, blah, blah, blah. And it felt so good after I let it out. So I definitely understand the relief, and I totally understand that, but I like wish I could like do it better because it hurt. I don't know why it hurt, but like it was like blah, blah, blah. And like physically it hurt, not even like emotionally, but like I think I was just like
that happens sometimes. Yeah, when you cry and it's like I get that.
And I feel like parents crying or seeing your parents cry,
God.
That's a deal breaker.
Can't do it.
Like, right? There's no one, well, okay, I can't say that, but like generally, assuming you have good parents, seeing your parents cry is just like, it makes everybody cry. Like that's, I can't do that.
For sure.
Very true. Very, very true.
So
Just
even just thinking about it, I'm here like, oh my god.
Yeah.
So, no.
Yeah, totally understand that. It was a hard time. Just like, yeah. I think we had something here on talking about like boys being boys. Did you have anything that you wanted to say on that?
Yes. Do you want to start?
Well, okay, so I'm the oldest sister in my family, which basically makes me like a free therapist. And also like I'm the only sister, so like I have two little brothers, and the boys will be boys thing heard it a lot and just don't vibe with it at all. It's lame. I think it excuses bad behavior when that same kind of grace is not extended to girls.
Right.
And I just don't vibe with it. I think it helps a lot of things, a lot of behaviors specifically continue that should not. And that's just very general, but I don't like it in short.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. I just have a lot of experiences with it and have heard it from multiple people. So
yeah.
I totally agree. Like, I cannot like say that enough. Like, I have a younger brother as well, and I love my brother. I do. I love him. But my parents like to give him a lot of attention and make up excuses for things that were very wrong. And if I were to do the same things, I would get in trouble, but him, and it just made me so mad. I just like, I couldn't control myself. Like, I think honestly, like, I treat him not as great as I should, just because my parents have given him so much grace, and it just doesn't make any sense. And I feel like it also like kind of depends on like the culture that you are brought up with and the values too. Because I know in like Indian culture, like, it's a very like patriarchal society over there. So like, you know, boys have the upper hand, and like girls, they still don't have as equal rights as like, you know, compared to like America. And it's so crazy to me. It's like, we're biologically, we mature faster than boys. Like, how does this make any sense? But it's crazy. That's all I really had to say. But Miranda, do you have anything?
I have two things to touch on. One of them, I was going to talk about like that whole concept, which I think I talked about on the Instagram today. So sorry for people who are hearing this twice. But like the whole concept of like little kids, or even like pretty old ages, like if he's an asshole to you, he has a crush on you.
No.
Like,
that's
yes.
Oh my God, that's such a popular trope too.
It's literally teaching like unconsensual relationships.
Yeah, and just like the normalization of being like, you as a girl being treated badly in a relationship, or just like even before a relationship as a good thing is kind of messed up. And the fact that gets romanticized, I think, in fiction a lot, where it's just like, oh, he seems so distant. It's like he's literally not into her, but like that's how it gets played off.
Yeah.
Because that's just such a common trope. I've seen that in so much, and I'm just not into those characters at all. Like, where's the appeal? Because the flip side of it is what, the guy being super nice and super into with his emotions and like open with that. And for some reason, that's not something we see as commonly, which personally, I love that. Like, I love characters who are just, or characters are like, even people in real life too. I'm just talking about this as like a fictional trope. Right. But in real life too, like, I'm most attracted to people who are super in tune with their emotions and vulnerable and telling me what they think and self-reflective. Like, that to me is so infinitely more appealing, like, as a girl. So I don't know why the opposite gets portrayed so much exactly. That confuses me sometimes. Not into it.
Yeah, no, I totally observed the same thing, because like I was on TikTok earlier, and like I've just like noticed a lot of like toxic behaviors, as in like, you know, I've noticed like the same thing. Like, there's a lot of girls, I'm not trying to generalize anything, but like there's a lot of girls who are attracted to like, you know, the cold, like almost like slightly abusive. They are abusive, so like they like the fact that the guy is like cold and abusive and like just standoffish. And like that's like something that they're attracted to. And I'm just like wondering if that like has to do with like the society that we're in, because like I guess because like we don't have as much like feminine like power or like energy going on right here, we're attracted to men who don't show their emotions. I don't know if that makes any sense.
I think
but like media.
I think it's media. Like, I think, although I guess media is portrayed based on what people prefer, but like a lot of our media portrayals, like movies, books, TV shows, all have like the cold main character boy. But like, I guess media is based off of what people prefer in real life. So I don't know, but
yeah, I mean, I've been guilty of like, you know, finding a guy that's like cold and like standoffish, attractive. Like, I'm not gonna lie, but obviously, like, if I like wanted a relationship with like someone, I would want them to be like nice and really vulnerable and like open with their emotions. And it's just like crazy how like is attraction to like the other type. But maybe you're right. Maybe it is media. It's like media portraying it in a way that's attractive. But there's so many people who are attracted to the same thing. So I'm just like confused. But
I think it's also like women are taught to like fix people.
I was just gonna say that.
Oh, really?
I was formulating that in my mind, like he's cold and standoffish, but like I'm thinking of like, okay, just imagine a TV show. Cold and standoffish dude. The main character, this adorable woman who is just like she gets with him and like helps him show off his vulnerable side. He doesn't get there on his own. Like it's about her getting those emotions out of him and fixing him, like you said. So I definitely like the appeal in it is not that he stays cold and standoffish, but like that you as a girl can help him get to that point instead of him just like going to therapy and getting there on his own.
Right.
So like, not to interrupt you.
No, I'm glad you did.
Like that's absolutely where the appeal comes from and like how we get like a good story out of it. Which is still messed up and places way too much responsibility on girls when a relationship should be a two-part thing and both of you should be trying to like better yourselves and be your best selves for each other instead of one of you putting in 110% and the other person doing nothing. So yeah, I can really jump off of that. That just that gave me a lot.
Relationships shouldn't be two half people helping each other be one whole person. They should be two whole people helping each other be a cute couple.
Yeah.
Totally. Relationships here today.
Yes. I have a question. I don't know if you guys have an answer for this or not, and it's completely open-ended. So like how like in general, girls are I don't know if there's like a biological reason for this, but like they say that like girls are more nurturing and there's like the motherly instinct. Do you think that has anything to do with how girls or women in general want to fix their partner?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
There's absolutely a link there. And I don't even know, I am strong, like just a part of me really wants to fight back hard against that idea that that's something innate in women. I definitely think that has to do with how we're socialized and brought up, like, and just how we're encouraged to act. Like this myth that like girls are weaker, even like back when it's like, okay, men go to war or like men, even farther back, like men do the hunting, things like that.
For sure.
Like this has been a historical thing for sure, but I don't think it's biological and natural. Like I think it just has to do with how stuff has gotten dictated historically in societies that we have created. I don't know. Like I feel like men are just as capable. Yes. Like everyone is just as capable of like raising children or like being nurturing. Like that's kind of just like either a personality trait or like a skill that you can work to develop. So I don't know. I don't know if biology in my mind has a ton to do with that because I feel like that's too fixed and like restrictive, I guess.
And even if biology does have something to do with it, it's still something that like it's not gonna decide all of it. Like it's gonna do like a little bit and then you can decide what you want to do for yourself. Like,
I guess the danger for me comes in when men will use the biology excuse in order to basically shirk their work and not do their part or be like, oh, women should raise kids. It's like, okay. So like, that's kind of how I use that employed or how I have seen that argument be employed. And so part of me is just kind of like, that's BS. Anyone can raise a child. Like, so I don't know. That's kind of what I subscribe to. I don't know if you guys are on the same page as that.
That makes sense.
Or think there's maybe something biological going on. I don't know.
It's complex. I totally agree. I mean, I think there is like something like biological and something like instinctual behind that, but I think like we're also conditioned to behave ways too. So based on like, our life experience, we might decide that, hey, I don't want to be like the motherly, nurturing person that biology assumes that we're all going to be like. Maybe I want to be the person that's running the business and making the calls and making the decisions, but it's really interesting how much that's changed. Like just looking back in history, like you said that like it was like the men who went out to hunt and find the food and the woman who like took care of the children and were cooking and doing all the housework and stuff like that. And so like it makes me think that it's not all biology. It's definitely, it's something that we can choose and we can decide to tap into at any time. But we had another thing on here, religion. Did you guys have anything to say on that?
You were thinking on it first, so I'll let you. I can touch on it.
Let's see. I kind of have to gather my thoughts here because I have a lot to say on this. I wrote an essay or finished an essay yesterday on like just analyzing how different parts of either my history or my identity have like influenced my perception of gender. And that was really fun to write. And a lot of what I talked about had to deal with religion because I was raised in like a really religious environment. And in a lot of ways, it was very restrictive on things like gender and gender identity and the idea of like a gender binary, that kind of thing. So, I mean, that's how I grew up. And with that, a lot of like internalized misogyny, and like women, specifically like Catholic women, should do this, should be this, should act this way. And that's when I grew up. I was like, okay, I'm gonna grow up, I'm gonna get married, I'm gonna have children, and my husband will go work. It's like it's, I don't know what year it is. I'm like, what? So nowadays, looking back, I'm like, no way. But like just how I was raised, I was like, okay, so that's what I'm expected to become. That's like what a good and like godly woman is.
Yeah.
And so I would see or hear just about women who would be like, oh, like I don't want to have kids, or mainly just I don't want to have kids, or like focusing more on their jobs, or women getting divorced was not allowed, or just like divorce was taboo. So seeing that stuff, like little me would sometimes just be like, wait, that's not what I was told was supposed to happen. Like, I guess they're like not doing the right thing with their lives. And so definitely not like hateful, but just kind of confused and like just that internalized misogyny. Like, I don't know if they're doing the right thing. Like, what do I know? I'm like 10 years old. So definitely like religion definitely played a part. When I think about it, I didn't think it did for the longest time, but looking back, it's just like, there's all these restrictions placed on women that came from my church, that are literally stuck in centuries past. Like, I have no idea why that stuff is still going on, but the church is, at least mine was just a very traditional environment and viewed any sort of cultural progress or change as like a bad thing. So yeah, like a totally counterculture kind of deal, which is how I grew up. So yeah, that was kind of my experience. Not great. So, yeah, I don't know if you guys can relate to that at all with religion specifically, but
we recently had a conversation also about how like neither of us realized that Jesus had siblings until like very recently.
Yes.
And because we were taught in like religion that Mary was a virgin, she never sinned, she was all like, you know, all those things, and like she had kids, she had sex eventually. It's not a, I'm like, I don't know. I don't hate the Catholic Church. I did grow up Catholic. I no longer identify as such, but that's just because there's certain things I no longer agree with. But there's a lot of like Christian guilt about exploring sex at all.
Dude, guilt is such a big thing. Like, they love guilt. Like, they love it. It's insanity. Like, just how guilty I felt for eventually thinking like, I don't know if I want to like get married immediately and have children. Like, I kind of want to do my own thing for a while. Like, I would feel guilty about that. Or just other things too. Like, I'm specifically talking about gender here. But just with other aspects of my identity too, I just feel like guilty. And that's just kind of like, I realize that not every church environment is like this. I'm speaking to mine specifically, like obviously not gonna trash on religious people, do what you want. But just this is my specific environment, and I don't think it was at all like constructive or just like a healthy place really to like explore things like identity and understand what gender really is and understand what like womanhood truly is. Like, just did not get that sense. And then what Miranda was saying about virginity too being a huge thing, and it's like, it starts to get creepy when you think about it too much. This, especially like in the Catholic Church, I know we're huge on Mary, and the biggest thing about Mary is her virginity. And so even just with that, like there's a bunch of just weird associations and like just how much reverence is placed around that. And it also definitely translated into later on when we did have like, I guess, sex ed. I put like heavy quotations around that because it was literally nothing and basically just stressed. Like sex ed, Catholic sex ed is basically just don't. And no real info.
They get married and let the guy make up.
Literally, like, yeah.
Not all Catholics again, but like.
No. My experience, like, just a big asterisk, and under that is just, this is just my experience. If you had a good Catholic education experience, fantastic. I'm jealous of you. But I just think that there are some things like inherently in the church that are super outdated and misogynistic, all of that. So, yeah. I don't know. That was kind of a lot.
No, I really enjoyed hearing about that. It's like I was making so many connections to like a lot of things that I've like experienced in my life too. Just like the whole guilt with like exploring like sexuality, which shouldn't. There's like so much taboo around that. It bothers me so much because it honestly like was a huge thing for me. Like I felt so guilty. I was stressed and anxious all the time because I was like, God hates me because I like want to like know about this stuff and I want to explore this stuff. And it's like I don't know, like I've just been like, I'm not trying to generalize anything, but like I feel like some institutions, they base like religion on like fear mongering and just like, you know, trying to like, well, if you do this you're gonna go to hell, or if you do this then maybe you'll get into heaven, but who knows, you have to do this. And it's all just like instilling fear. Like if you don't, like you need to be in fear for you to get something out of it. And it's just so like contradictory to me. Like isn't it supposed to be like about love and like, you know, acceptance and supporting? I'm not like saying that all like institutions do this, because there are really really nice institutions, you know, who help you through everything, and it's totally understandable. But I've also had some bad experiences with like religion and just like people telling me what I can and can't do, and it just bothers me so much. I feel like we could have like a whole episode just talking about like virginity and sexuality, because that's huge for women, because like no one teaches you like what you're supposed to do and like how you're supposed to handle certain things, and like it's all kind of like based around like how I feel like it's based around how men might experience it. And like also
I was gonna ask you both that. It's just like you mentioned how it's taboo to kind of learn about your sexuality, your body, things like that, when that's so crucial to understanding yourself. And I was going to ask if you guys felt that it was more or less taboo for women versus men, because I know I have thoughts on that, but I want to know if you guys thought, like, as a woman specifically, is there more of a taboo surrounding us learning about our bodies or not so much?
I definitely think there is.
Yeah. Yes.
I have a friend how periods work.
Oh my god.
Like she like recently realized figured out how to use a tampon. Like
oh my gosh.
So there's that. And like men, like there's stereotypes about men watching porn, and then when women watch porn, it's like, ew, you're gross. Why are you watching porn? Are you masturbating? Women have needs too. Okay.
Yeah, just like, yeah, that's a whole other conversation too. It's just like, yeah, just if we talk about sexuality specifically, like pornography being tailored to men, when it's or just like being sexually inclined as like an exclusively male experience or like a exclusively male condition, I feel like that gets pushed. And it stems from women just like not knowing anything about their own bodies, because you just talk about it. So yeah, like there's a lot to understand, but should not be like disallowed from understanding it. I don't know. It like definitely feel like it's way more taboo as a woman to own your sexuality, understand your own body, things like that. For sure. So I don't know, Shivani, do you feel the same way?
Oh, for sure. I totally think it's based around men, and it's so frustrating. And I was thinking about this. I mean, like if women, if women don't really understand like how their body works, how are men supposed to understand it? How are they supposed to give women the best experience that they can have? Because if like women don't get that education and don't really know about their bodies, like you can't expect a man to make you feel good. Like no, like oh my goodness.
I've seen on Twitter like in multiple posts that like a lot of the times like when guys, I don't know how sexual we want this to get, but I'm just gonna say it. People get uncomfortable. I apologize. Like a lot of the times when guys get orgasms, girls don't, because the men do what they can to please themselves and don't
Exactly.
So
yeah,
there's that.
Yeah, I could I could go into like a whole conversation because like I've done a little too much research on this because I was just curious. But yeah, no, like I think there's like a certain, I don't know if there's like a certain time period, but like it definitely takes women a longer time to like orgasm in general than men. And like you need to like arouse the woman, like, you know, make sure that they're like comfortable and stuff like that. We could get into a whole episode about this. Like this kind of like I have like so much in my mind that I want to talk about because it's like honestly something that I wish people would talk about more, because I don't like when people, I don't like the fact that like people still think of it as like a taboo. And I think it's something that would really help us just like in general with our lives to be comfortable with like self-expression and being creative and just having just like a healthier like mental well-being, mental health. And I think it's definitely something that we should talk about more, but I'd love to talk about this more at some point.
Also, I'm just gonna say something. I know you were about to say we're almost out of time, so I could see that look on your face. But also, if it weren't so taboo, I feel like we'd have less instances of sexual assault.
True. Okay. That's absolutely true. Yeah.
That's very, very true. Very, very true. I totally agree with that. Yeah, it's just like the fact that like from the beginning that, you know, women were supposed to be modest, and like that's carried on till now. Like men don't know how to act when women are not modest. And it's like they've been conditioned in a way to react. I feel like, do you think that's a thing? Do you think they've been conditioned to react like, I don't know, like want to do things when they see like a woman, you know, being a little more scandalous?
Well, yeah, because women are so objectified that I think.
Yeah.
I think it's almost natural at this point to sort of erase her humanity, and see her as just that object. Yeah. So yeah, for sure. Definitely think that speaks to the lack of restrictions, or not restrictions, but just like discipline, I guess, we put on behavior like that. Like it's so normalized. And also just like the lack of respect we have. Boys being boys. Yeah, like the lack of respect we have for just women in general.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah. I would also say like a lot of the times like the perpetrators of assault, when it's either gender, when it's male or woman, they either claim that they don't know what they were doing wrong, or they don't know it was wrong. And I think to an extent, better sex ed would help with that. Obviously, there's issues, like other issues besides sex ed that are playing a role, but
I definitely think I was gonna slip this in. I'm glad you mentioned that. But just like comprehensive sex ed literally helps every single person. Like that's just the truth, and it helps people know about things, know what's wrong, and if something bad is happening to them, they will know about it. And like I just think that's so important. Like it just helps you know yourself so much better, helps you understand things that you need to understand. And yeah, for sure, like definitely the hugest advocate for that, especially because what I got was the complete opposite. So yeah, for sure.
Yeah. All right, I have two more things. So one, we're gonna keep going. I love this topic. I'm so excited about this. First, do you think there is a certain like age or grade or time that like kids or like teenagers should be learning about like comprehensive sex ed, or do you think it should just be like, you know, in high school, or should it be later? Should it be earlier? Do you have any opinions on that?
I have. I knew it. She knows I have a take on this. Literally,
okay.
I am every conservative's worst nightmare, because I am one of those people who is like, you need to be teaching kids as soon as they are able to understand anything, that if someone is touching them in a bad way, that is bad. Like to understand like their bodies, and also to understand the no square, you know, like you gotta get that shit in their heads. Sorry, I don't know if I can swear.
No, do it. It's okay. It's cool.
I didn't know if you swore on the podcast.
Oh, okay, yeah. Girl, I can't keep it down.
You just need to like, that stuff should start as soon as possible. And you don't have to like, I mean, obviously you don't have to go into like gross stuff with like a 4-year-old.
Yeah.
That's stupid, and people pretend that's what I mean when I say like comprehensive sex ed, but no, it just means when you have a 4-year-old, teaching them about how no one should touch them without their permission. Like you can teach a 4-year-old consent. Like
Yes.
you can not, you're not even dumbing things down. It's just like putting it in terms that they can understand. And
Don't give someone a hug if they don't want a hug.
Right, like ask permission before you hug people, or other people should before they hug you, or anything along those lines. Like, and then just keep reinforcing that. And as they get older and learn about more things, understand more about the world, introduce things gradually, and get up to a point where you can maybe talk about the, I guess, more detailed stuff, like things like naming sexual assaults, things like that. I absolutely think that helps every single person. Like I will stand by that forever. Yeah, so that's how I feel about it.
Yeah, love that. I don't know, I totally agree with that, and I think there's totally a point to like doing it gradually and starting early, because like the earlier you're able to identify like things that are wrong, the better. I mean, I like was thinking back to like experiences that I had. I definitely would have benefited from knowing what things were wrong and when they happened. But yeah, Miranda, did you have anything that you wanted to add to that?
Like what she said, so I'm not going to add anything.
Okay, cool. What was the second thing I had? This was more just a comment, but like kind of going back to like how we were talking about like men were conditioned to like, you know, like objectify women. I think it almost depends on like where in the world you are too, because like I know in like the ancient past, like, you know, there were women who were like, it was normal for women to go out without like, you know, no bras, no shirts, no nothing, and like men were okay with that, and like, you know, and also like I think it's in, was it in Brazil that I remember this? I don't know like where exactly, but I think one of our friends was talking about going to like nude beaches, and so like, you know, there's like people walking out there nude, and there's like, you know, no one cares, and everyone's really open, and there is no like, you know, assaulting or harassment going on. It's just like the norm. So like it might depend on like where you were brought up and like the beliefs and like values.
Yeah, I definitely think it's cultural. I also think it's media messaging, and what gets glorified, not only just like in TV shows, movies, but also just in advertising. You see like horny advertising way too often.
Oh my god.
Or just like hot women doing things. So by the
like
thing,
lingerie,
like it's natural. Like there's not ugly women on anything. And so like I say, I like even just ugly. Like that's sounds so harsh because like just conventionally attractive. I'll say that's better. Yeah, there's like conventionally attractive women. When there's a woman in anything, she's conventionally attractive. Otherwise, it's like a political statement, and people get upset about it. So, that's the thing. Like, I think a lot of it has to play into what we see on a day-to-day basis, and things that we choose to spend our free time on, and definitely, Shivani, like you mentioned, the cultural aspect, just what is okay and what is not. But I think that's like due in large part to the media, for sure.
For sure. I feel like in America, it's just like so blown out of proportion because it's not as bad, at least because I've traveled to like different countries and stuff, but like it's crazy. It's so crazy. Everything's so sexualized, and I'm like, oh my goodness, like how did this happen? But crazy.
It's weird when you step back and think because like everything is so sexualized, but at the same time, our sex education is atrocious.
Very true.
So it's just kind of this unhealthy cycle. I feel like where you start to grow up and you, well, not even when you start to grow up, like you're seeing advertisements as a little kid, and seeing women being objectified like from the minute you're conscious of it. So I don't know, just kind of like this vicious cycle, I feel like in a lot of ways, but
for sure.
That's too negative. Like it's good that we're talking about it, I will say, to put a positive spin on it. And it seems like more and more people are kind of conscious and like media literate, which is really nice.
There's a new like a lot more of like women being sex positive now.
Oh, for sure.
Like,
I definitely observed that too. Just people being more like open and ready to discuss and educate people about it. Like it makes me really, really happy, and I hope there's more of that in the future because we have a lot of work to do. But yeah, do you guys have any ending comments or things you want to talk about before we wrap this up?
We're done already?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I feel like I blinked and it was over. This is so much fun.
It was fun.
We had a great topic. This was great. I loved it so much.
Yeah. I could easily talk about this stuff for hours and hours and hours. So this was amazing.
Thank you for joining us. This was super fun.
It was an absolute blast. I knew I ran my mouth a lot, so I hope you guys.
I'm glad you ran your mouth a lot. That was good.
Yeah. No, honestly, I love listening to you. I love listening to other people talk and just be like, ooh, like, what more information can I get from you? Like, ooh.
Well, thank you guys for letting me on.
Yeah,
this is wonderful.
I'll let you know when the stuff.
Yes, it's so exciting.
Sure. All right. So to our listeners, if you guys have any questions, comments, or feedback, you can email us at farfromnormalpodcast2020@gmail.com. We have an Instagram at farfromnormalpodcast and also a Google survey thing in our Instagram, so you can just enter any questions, comments, or feedback in that survey. It's all anonymous. And give us a follow, like, subscribe, and we'll see you in our next episode.
Love you guys.
I love you. Bye.